The first sound isn't a warning, it's an attack. A sharp, violent crack splits the air beside her, close enough to feel the space collapse around it. The ground reacts instantly, jolting under her feet as if something enormous just landed where nothing should be. Before she can process it, the next impact hits even harder. No rhythm, no pattern, just sudden, hostile force slamming into the world around her with the kind of intent that doesn't leave room for survival. The darkness doesn't wait for her to understand what's happening. It moves again, faster, heavier, and with a precision that feels deliberate. Every shift in the space around her is abrupt and punishing, as if the environment itself has decided to turn against her. Nothing slows down, nothing hesitates, nothing gives her a chance to breathe. The world has chosen violence, and it's coming at her without restraint. The next hit doesn't come from the same direction. It slams into the space behind her with a force that feels intentional, like something is testing how fast it can corner her. The ground reacts again, harder this time, a violent jolt that sends a sharp tremor through the entire area. Nothing about it feels random. Every impact lands with precision, as if the world is choosing its angles carefully. A sudden shift tears through the darkness, not a sound, not a shape, just a violent displacement of space itself. The air snaps tight, then collapses inward, like something enormous just moved through it without slowing down. The pressure hits her surroundings in a single, brutal wave that leaves no room for stability. Then the environment turns unpredictable. Objects she can't see shift sharply out of place, scraping across the ground with a speed that shouldn't be possible. Something heavy drops somewhere ahead, hard enough to shake dust loose from nowhere. Another impact follows immediately, closer, sharper, like the world is closing in with deliberate force. There's no pattern to follow, no logic to cling to. Every second is another violent interruption, another sudden shift meant to break any sense of control she might have left. The darkness moves again, faster, heavier, more aggressive. It doesn't stalk, it doesn't wait, it attacks, over and over, with the kind of relentless intent that leaves no space for thought or reaction. The world around her has committed to one thing: overwhelm her until there's nothing left to overwhelm. The next shift in the darkness isn't subtle, it's decisive. Something heavy drops into the space ahead of her with a force that rattles the ground in a straight, unforgiving line. The sound is sharp, metallic, final. Whatever landed didn't fall. It arrived, like it was placed there on purpose. Before she can register the shape of it, another impact slams into the far wall. A deep, violent thud that sends fragments scattering across the floor. They skitter in every direction, fast and uncontrolled, like they're trying to escape whatever caused the hit. One piece spins so close it clips the ground at her feet and ricochets away without slowing. Then the room shifts again, not gently, not gradually. A sudden, brutal snap of movement tears through the space, as if something massive just repositioned itself in a single, impossible motion. No warning, no build-up, just a hard, decisive relocation that changes the entire layout around her. A long, dragging scrape follows. Not slow, not cautious. A fast, aggressive pull across the floor, like something is clearing space with zero interest in what was there before. Objects topple over in its path, a chair slams sideways, a table flips, something glass shatters against the far corner. The darkness doesn't pause. Another strike hits the ceiling above her, hard enough to send dust raining down in a sudden burst. A second hit follows immediately, closer, sharper, like whatever is up there is testing how thin the barrier is. Then everything stops, not peacefully, abruptly, the kind of stop that feels like the world is holding its breath, not out of fear, but out of calculation. Something is choosing its next move. Not stalking, not circling, positioning. The silence that follows isn't empty. It's loaded, the kind of silence that only exists right before something commits to the next violent step. The silence breaks with a single, violent shift somewhere deep in the room, not a sound, not a warning, just the unmistakable weight of something changing position with purpose. A heavy object slides across the floor in a straight, decisive line, carving a path that cuts through everything in its way. It doesn't slow, it doesn't adjust, it moves like it already knows exactly where it's going. A second object drops from above, hitting the ground so hard it bounces once before skidding across the floor and slamming into the far wall. The impact echoes through the space, sharp and final, like a signal being sent. Before the sound fades, another object follows, heavier, faster, landing with a force that shakes the entire room. Then the rearranging begins. Furniture shifts sharply out of place, not pushed, not dragged, repositioned with a speed that makes no sense. A table flips onto its side. A shelf collapses in a single, brutal snap. Something metallic rolls across the floor, gathering speed until it slams into the base of the wall and stops dead. The darkness moves again, not creeping, not circling, advancing. A long, low scrape cuts through the room, fast and deliberate, like something enormous is clearing a path straight toward her. The sound grows louder, sharper, more aggressive, until it stops so suddenly it feels intentional, like whatever made it has reached the exact spot it wanted. Then the walls react. A deep, resonant thud hits the left side of the room, followed immediately by another on the right, as if something is testing the structure, checking for weak points. The hits come faster, harder, each one more precise than the last. Dust shakes loose from the ceiling. Cracks form in the corners. The room isn't being damaged, it's being evaluated. Another impact lands behind her, then another, each one closer, each one sharper, each one more deliberate. The space around her is no longer shifting randomly. It's closing in with purpose, tightening, aligning, preparing. Something is about to enter, and the room is making space for it. The room doesn't wait for a signal. It detonates into motion. A heavy object somewhere in the far corner snaps upright as if yanked by an unseen force. It doesn't wobble or slide, it launches, cutting across the room in a straight, violent line. It hits the opposite wall with a crack that splits the silence wide open. The impact leaves a deep indentation, fragments scattering across the floor in a fast, chaotic spray. Before the debris settles, something else moves, not slow, not cautious. A tall structure collapses in a single, brutal drop, as if its supports were ripped out from under it. The crash is immediate and absolute, sending a shock through the floor that knocks smaller objects into motion. They roll, spin, collide, forming a chaotic pattern that spreads outward like a ripple of destruction. Then the center of the room shifts. A long, heavy beam drags itself across the floor with a speed that shouldn't be possible. It cuts a straight path, clearing everything in its way. Chairs topple, a metal frame snaps in half. A stack of boxes bursts open as the beam plows through them without slowing. It stops only when it reaches the exact midpoint of the room, as if marking a boundary. The walls react next. A deep, resonant strike hits the left wall, followed instantly by another on the right. The hits come in rapid succession, each one harder than the last, each one landing with the precision of something mapping the room through force alone. Cracks spread outward from the impact points, thin at first, then branching like fractures in ice. A sudden, violent shift overhead sends dust raining down in a thick, steady fall. Another impact follows, closer, sharper, and a section of the ceiling gives way, dropping debris in a straight line that narrowly misses the beam on the floor. The room is no longer rearranging itself. It's preparing. Every object that can move has moved. Every surface that can crack has cracked. Every corner that can shift has shifted. The space is clearing itself with purpose, as if something large, deliberate, and unstoppable needs room to enter. And it's almost here. The room doesn't settle after clearing itself. It shifts again, not subtly, not gradually, but with a violent, structural jolt that snaps through the space like something enormous just braced against the walls. A tall cabinet in the corner jerks forward as if pulled by an invisible hook. It tips once, then slams face down onto the floor with a force that sends splinters shooting across the room. The impact is so hard the back panel tears loose and skids several feet before stopping against the leg of an overturned table. Before the echo fades, the shelving unit beside it collapses in a single, brutal drop. Not a wobble, not a slow fall, a straight, decisive break that sends every object on it flying outward in a chaotic burst. Metal tools scatter across the floor, clattering in every direction. A heavy box rolls until it hits the wall and bursts open, spilling its contents in a messy, uncontrolled heap. Then the floor reacts. A deep, resonant crack splits across the surface, running in a jagged line from one end of the room to the other. The fracture widens as something beneath it shifts sharply, pushing upward with enough force to tilt the surrounding boards. Dust erupts from the gap in a thick plume, coating everything in a dull, grey layer. The ceiling answers next. A violent impact hits directly above, hard enough to shake loose a chunk of plaster the size of a fist. It drops straight down, smashing against the floor and breaking into several sharp pieces. Another hit follows immediately, closer, heavier, and a long crack snakes across the ceiling like something is tracing its way toward the center of the room. Then the far wall caves inward. Not completely, just enough to show that something on the other side is pushing with deliberate, unstoppable pressure. The drywall buckles, bends, then snaps outward in a sudden burst, sending fragments scattering across the floor. A wooden beam behind it shifts forward an inch, then another, as if something massive is pressing against it from the other side. The room is no longer preparing. It's yielding. Every surface that can break is breaking. Every barrier that can shift is shifting. Every object that can move is being forced into position. Something is coming through, and the room is giving way to make space for it. Something moves in the darkness with a speed that doesn't match anything she's ever known. It cuts through the black in a straight, violent line, stopping so abruptly it feels like the world skipped a moment. There's no warning before the next movement, a sudden, decisive shift that lands inches from where she stands, fast enough to suggest it could have hit her if it wanted to. A sharp, heavy impact follows, not from above or below, but from somewhere impossibly close. The sound is immediate, final, like something being dropped with intent. Another movement slices past her, faster this time, as if whatever is out there is adjusting its aim. then everything goes still. Not quiet, still. A stillness that feels engineered, like something is holding itself back for a single, precise moment. The next movement breaks that restraint completely. A violent lunge cuts through the dark, direct and unhesitating. It doesn't graze her, it doesn't test her, it targets her, a straight, brutal strike that stops only because something chooses to stop it. The force behind it is undeniable, the intent unmistakable. Another movement follows immediately, closer, sharper, faster, then another, each one aimed directly at her, each one stopping just short, each one more deliberate than the last. Whatever is in the dark isn't circling, it isn't stalking, it isn't waiting, it's practicing how close it can get, practicing how fast it can strike, practicing how precisely it can stop, not because it needs to, because it wants to, and the next time it moves, it won't stop. The next movement doesn't come from the side or the back. It comes straight at her, a direct, unbroken line through the dark, fast enough to cut the moment in half. It stops a fraction before reaching her, not because it has to, but because it chooses to. The precision is exact, practiced, almost rehearsed. Another movement follows immediately, this one sharper, angled, deliberate. It slices past her with a speed that leaves no room for reaction. Then another, each one aimed with perfect accuracy, each one stopping just short, each one closer than the last. The darkness around her erupts with motion, not chaotic, not wild, but controlled. Every strike is calculated, every near hit is intentional. Whatever is out there isn't trying to confuse her. It's demonstrating something. A sudden lunge cuts through the black, faster than anything before. It stops so close the moment feels split open. Then it withdraws in a single, clean pull, as if resetting for the next attempt. Another strike follows, then another. The pattern becomes unmistakable. It's not attacking. It's measuring distance, measuring timing, measuring how quickly it can reach her, measuring how precisely it can stop. The movements grow faster, sharper, more confident. Whatever is in the dark has learned everything it needs. Every test is complete. Every limit has been mapped. The next time it moves, it won't be practice. It will be the real thing. The darkness doesn't wait for a cue. It snaps forward in a single, violent motion that cuts the moment clean in half. There's no build-up, no warning, no shift in pace, just a direct, unbroken strike aimed straight at her. It stops a breath before impact, not out of restraint, but out of precision. Another movement follows instantly, sharper and faster. It slices past her with a speed that feels engineered, like something refining its technique. Then another movement hits from the opposite direction, equally precise, equally deliberate. The motions don't overlap, they alternate, each one landing with perfect timing, as if rehearsed. The darkness erupts with motion, not chaotic, not frantic, controlled. Every strike is aimed directly at her, every near hit is intentional, every movement is closer than the last. A sudden lunge cuts through the black, faster than anything so far. It stops so close the moment feels carved open. Then it retracts in a clean, exact pull, no hesitation, no wasted motion. Another strike follows, then another. The pattern becomes undeniable. It isn't testing her anymore. It isn't measuring distance. It isn't practicing precision. It's demonstrating dominance. Each movement is a declaration. Each near hit is a warning. Each perfectly controlled strike is a promise. The darkness moves again, faster, harder, more confident. It doesn't miss. It doesn't falter. It doesn't reconsider. It's ready, and the next time it comes at her, it won't stop short. The darkness moves first, not slowly, not cautiously, but with a sudden, violent precision that cuts straight toward her. It doesn't drift or sway. It commits, a direct line aimed with the confidence of something that already knows the outcome. Another movement follows instantly, sharper and faster. It slices past her with a speed that feels engineered, like something refining its technique in real time. Then a second movement hits from the opposite direction, perfectly timed, perfectly aligned, as if the two motions were designed to trap her between them. The darkness erupts with motion, not wild, not chaotic, controlled. Every strike is aimed directly at her, every near hit is intentional, every movement is closer than the last. A sudden lunge cuts through the black, faster than anything so far. It stops so close the moment feels split open. Then it retracts in a clean, exact pull, no hesitation, no wasted motion. Another strike follows, then another, each one more confident, each one more precise, each one more certain. The pattern shifts. The movements stop testing distance. They stop practicing precision. They stop demonstrating dominance. Now they're closing in. The darkness moves again, not from one direction, but from several at once. Fast, direct, coordinated. Every strike is aimed to end the space around her. Every motion is designed to remove the gap between them. Every approach is faster than the last. Whatever is in the dark isn't preparing anymore. It isn't measuring. It isn't warning. It's advancing. And this time, nothing about its movement suggests it plans to stop. The darkness moves before she even registers the shift. A single, violent motion cuts straight toward her, fast enough to erase the moment between where it started and where it stops. It halts just short of her, not out of restraint, but out of absolute control, the kind of control that comes from something that has already decided how this ends. Another movement follows instantly, sharper, closer, more confident. It slices past her with a precision that leaves no room for misinterpretation. Then a second movement hits from the opposite side, perfectly timed, perfectly aligned, as if the two motions were designed to converge on her without touching her, yet. The darkness erupts with motion, not scattered, not frantic, coordinated. Every strike is aimed directly at her. Every near hit is intentional. Every movement is closer than the last. A sudden lunge tears through the black, faster than anything before. It stops at the exact point where contact would begin. Then it withdraws in a clean, controlled pull, no hesitation, no wasted motion. Another strike follows, then another, each one more certain, each one more direct, each one more final. The pattern shifts again. The movements stop demonstrating precision. They stop showing control. They stop proving dominance. Now they're closing in. The darkness moves from multiple directions at once, fast, synchronized, deliberate. Every motion is aimed to erase the distance between them. Every approach is faster than the last. Every strike is designed to end the space around her entirely. Whatever is in the dark isn't testing anymore. It isn't practicing. It isn't warning. It's converging. And this time, nothing about its movement suggests it plans to stop short. The darkness doesn't test distance this time. It closes it. A single, violent motion cuts straight toward her with absolute commitment. There's no pause, no adjustment, no restraint. It moves like something that has already decided the moment is over and is simply carrying out the final step. Another movement follows instantly, not from the side, not from behind, but from a direction that shouldn't exist. It hits the space beside her with a speed that feels engineered for one purpose, to eliminate the gap between them entirely. Then the darkness multiplies. Movements strike from several directions at once, fast, synchronized, deliberate. They don't hesitate. They don't correct. They don't stop short. Every motion is aimed directly at her, each one timed to converge with the next, forming a pattern that leaves no room for escape, no room for reaction, no room for anything except the certainty of what's coming. A sudden lunge tears through the black, faster than anything before. It doesn't slow, it doesn't shift, it doesn't reconsider. Another movement follows immediately, perfectly aligned with the first. Then another, then another. The darkness isn't practicing anymore. It isn't measuring, it isn't demonstrating control. It's executing. Every strike is final, every motion is committed, every approach is designed to end the distance between them completely. The darkness moves again, not as a single force, but as several, all converging with the same intention, the same precision, the same absolute certainty. There is no warning, there is no pause, there is no restraint. This time, it doesn't stop. The darkness doesn't build toward anything. It acts. A single, violent motion cuts straight toward her with full commitment, no pause, no adjustment, no restraint. It moves like something that has already decided the moment is finished and is simply carrying out the final step with absolute certainty. Another movement follows instantly, not from a predictable angle, not from any direction she can anticipate. It hits the space beside her with a speed that feels engineered for one purpose, to erase the distance between them completely. Then the darkness splits. Multiple movements strike at once, fast, synchronized, deliberate. They don't test, they don't measure, they don't stop short. Every motion is aimed directly at her, each one timed to converge with the next, forming a pattern that leaves no gaps, no openings, no chance for anything except the outcome already chosen. A sudden lunge tears through the black, faster than anything before. It doesn't slow, it doesn't shift, it doesn't reconsider. Another movement follows immediately, perfectly aligned with the first. Then another, then another. The darkness isn't demonstrating anything now. It isn't refining technique. It isn't showing control. It's executing. Every strike is final. Every motion is committed. Every approach is designed to end the distance between them entirely. The movements tighten. The pattern sharpens. The convergence accelerates. Whatever is in the dark has stopped preparing, stopped practicing, stopped holding back. It moves again, not as separate forces, but as one, unified, unstoppable motion. And this time, there is nothing in its path. The darkness doesn't approach this time. It takes the moment. A single, decisive motion cuts forward with absolute commitment, not slowing, not adjusting, not reconsidering. It moves like something that has already crossed the point of choice and is now following through with the final, irreversible step. Another motion follows instantly, not from a direction she can track, not from any angle that makes sense. It hits the space beside her with a speed that feels engineered for one purpose, to eliminate the concept of distance entirely. Then the darkness multiplies. Movements strike in perfect unison, fast, synchronized, deliberate. They don't test, they don't measure, they don't stop short. Every motion is aimed directly at her, each one timed to converge with the next, forming a pattern that leaves no gaps, no openings, no escape. A violent lunge tears through the black, faster than anything before. It doesn't pause, it doesn't shift, it doesn't correct. Another movement follows immediately, aligned with the first so precisely it feels like a single, continuous strike. Then another, then another. The darkness isn't refining technique. It isn't demonstrating control. It isn't showing dominance. It's executing. Every motion is final. Every strike is committed. Every approach is designed to erase the space around her completely. The movements tighten. The pattern sharpens. The convergence accelerates. Whatever is in the dark has stopped holding back. Stopped waiting. Stopped calculating. It moves again, not as separate forces, but as one, unified, unstoppable motion. And this time, nothing stands between it and its target.